in last 40 minutes, what you have said is that India has a 2-point agenda immediately. One is how to revive the economy, and second is how to deal with China politically.
Yes.
Now, the first thing is not easy, but second thing is also very difficult.
Yeah.
You have given suggestions how to revive the economy, but I would just say at this point in time, if we look at the 30 years history of 40 years history of China,
Yes.
economic history of China, there is a lot to be learned from China.
Yeah.
I mean, China has brought in 20 years' time 400 million people out of abject poverty. China has maintained a 8 to 9% growth for 30 years. No country in the world has done that. And in 1990, not very long ago, only 30 years back, India's per capita GDP was more than China. And now look at where we are.
No, that's not correct.
1990.
But it's about the same. It's as good. Your point is as good.
Yeah. So now in PPP terms and maybe nominal terms also, we are much below China's income. So there is a lot to be learned from China.
Yeah.
Now, when we say a lot to be learned from China, what are the two lessons other than these statistics and the policies and the value addition industry policy that which you narrated about Lenovo, the things? What more can be learned from China so that the first question is answered, how to revive the Indian economy? One point I noted was the alternative energy. China is no more relying on coal and oil. They have gone in for solar energy. In fact, China is now the number 2 in the world in production of solar energy. And India is also climate-wise saying is well equipped to generate solar energy. So one lesson which can be learned is no more reliance on coal and oil as energy sources, and there are alternative energy sources. Which other thing you can suggest?
I find it insulting you say that this is one lesson we can learn from China. We were the world's largest users, even though it was minuscule, but by comparison, it was the largest users of solar energy in 1951 to 57. And then we got enamored of the West and started doing all those crazy things that the West was doing. Second, this trade union movement made all our industrialists think that best to have capital intensive technology. It's totally unsuited for India. So we wasted our capital. Our capital output ratio, you know that the rate of investment divided by the capital output ratio is the growth rate of the GDP.
Right.
We have a capital output ratio of now 4.5. Right. Japan, during his development period, had only 2.
Right.
We can easily be 2 and 2.5. If we have 2.5 and 36% as our rate of investment, what will be 12, 13, 14, 15%?
Yeah.
Okay, so don't say that this is a lesson that we have to learn from China. This is a lesson China learned from us and went ahead. We have only one thing to remember. They have instilled self-confidence in their people. And they are ready for, in dire situations, for sacrifice. Our people don't have self-confidence because the British built that into your brain. You feel inferior. Why are you wearing Western dress? I want to know. Why can't you wear kurta pajama like me? What is this mentality? Is unsuited for our climate also. Why is it that we say, oh, Sanskrit, that is communal? That also, China is mentally liberated. We are not mentally liberated yet, number one. Number two, we can teach one thing to China. They won't like it, my saying it, but I'll say it anyway. We can teach them democracy. Do you know that in 1975, 77, when the elections were declared, every person in America, I was in America, I had escaped there, I was doing campaign there. Every American told me democracy is only for the well-to-do. When the stomach is full, the poor can never be for democracy. They will vote for Indira, and yours is a poor 40% is below the poverty line. So when the results came out, what happened? all the well-educated, English-educated South voted for Indira Gandhi. And these chutiawalas of UP, your state, and Bihar, and Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, they wiped out Indira Gandhi, where they were in such strong power. They wiped them out. So this Indian mindset is truly democratic, but it has to be now evolved into the new system. Let people be democratic, and we want it to be, and we want to teach the Chinese also that we can grow faster than you with democracy, which will have a huge impact on Chinese public also, I must tell you, because the propaganda is that you need, for some years at least, you need dictatorship. So that is what we can teach the Chinese.
Ramesh, in case you have a question or I have some question.
No, I have a question.
Please,
Now,
please.
Alan said that China is the second largest solar installed. That is very true. But India uses double. The share of solar energy in use, India is double of China. We use 8%, China is only 4%. So just throwing out solar cells there doesn't make any, because at the end of the day, how much of that energy are you using? China has 3 times the size of India in installation, but what is the use? So it is efficient use of resources also matters a lot when it comes to China. So that's one point. But the main one, Dr. Swami, I wanted to talk was when Nehru, back when Dalai Lama came to India through Arunachal Pradesh, that time he said that we should not be worried about China. So I'll just read in verbatim what he wrote in a note to the G. Patsadi at that time. He's saying that he said the cable shows the Indian Prime Minister did not realize Indian common men's strong sentiments for the Tibetan people soon after the Dalai Lama had been forced to leave his homeland to take refuge in India. Nehru believed that the people's government in Beijing could only do good, in quotes, even in a painful manner, to the common man in Tibet. Lack of understanding.
No, it is hypocrisy. 1955, Dalai Lama and Panchen Lama came to India. And they came official as delegates for a cultural conference. Dalai Lama told Nehru, I don't want to sign this agreement that the Chinese are asking, where they want me to declare that Tibet will be part of China. Let me stay here. And what Nehru told him, it is good for you if you go there. If you are here, we can't do anything for you. And then the same Nehru calls them in 1959. Says, yes, come. Why? Because at that time, the Americans and the Russians, Soviets, were both against China. And they were using Indian territory to launch Khampas into Tibet. In fact, Khampas were trained in Denver, Colorado, which looks like Tibet. You've been to Denver, Colorado. It's written, the book which has been published. This was told to me by the then ambassador Moynihan, who was a professor at Harvard and then later on India's ambassador here. And he's told me this, and then he showed me the book also. So therefore, we have we even U-2 flights, which the Pakistanis had stopped because one plane got shot. From Orissa we sent it. Biju Patnaik himself told me that we have been flying U-2 flights from India to China. So we became a cat's paw for the Americans. And then when the Chinese made a massacre of our forward forces, poor chaps, they fought very valiantly. But how can you fight with tennis shoes in freezing temperature? And that Henderson Brooks report is still not been declassified. I nearly got it declassified with Parikar. But then Jet Li came and said, no, it will hurt the sentiments of the Congress. So it should not be released. So therefore, I am saying we are people who have enormous capacity. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have enormous capacity to tremendous capacity. After all, the Islam conquered Iran in 15 years, made them all 100% Muslim, made Mesopotamia, Babylon as 100% Muslim in 17 years, Egypt in 21 years, Europe in 50 years became Christian. But this country, 600 years of Muslim rule, 200 years of Christian rule, and we are still 82% Hindu. This resilience of the Hindu has to be tapped and given a goal. Grow for 10% per year per 10 years, then we will get everything back from the Chinese, either by persuasion or by fighting.